Visual effects supervisor Julia Gibson works closely with Ron to design his vision of the movie's numerous effects. For many of these effects, Julia turned to Pacific Data Images, or PDI, which has used digital technology to create innovative visual effects for television commercials and music videos. In 1990, PDI ventured into the world of feature films, building one of the first high-resolution film scanners. This enabled them to input live-action film into the computer, manipulate the images, and output the finished images back onto film with no appreciable degradation of picture quality. The scanner translates each frame of film into a series of ones and zeros, representing the color of each pixel in the frame. Pixel is an abbreviation of picture element and is a computer term which refers to a single microscopic point of information in a picture. The computer operator, or animator, can change any pixel's color and location. When the digital information is printed back out to film, the original picture is now digitally enhanced with the animator's changes. PDI was founded in 1980 by Carl Rosendahl.
I think we broke a lot of ground and, as importantly, educated a lot of people about what the capabilities of the computer are and what kind of freedom that gives them.
PDI became a trendsetter in the specialized field of digital enhancement.
As for our track record...
The results of PDI's expertise can be seen in Sleepwalkers, in which actors were transformed into monstrous creatures, and Toys, for which PDI created animated skeletons seen through a fanciful X-ray machine.
These magnetic tubes...
Because digital technology is still developing, each project requires new techniques for solving new problems.
That's one of the things that's so fun about this whole industry, is that you can't anticipate everything you're going to need to be able to do for the next project or the project after that.
For Heart and Souls, PDI's Jamie Dixon will supervise the creation of the digital effects, with the help of as many as 12 animators working over a 5-month production period.
It would certainly be fair to break down the work that we're doing in Heart and Souls into 3 different categories. There's the addition of items to a picture, there's the subtraction of items from a picture, and there's the manipulation of various elements to create a visual effect.
One of the most frequent uses of digital subtraction in motion pictures is for wire removal. Before this process was available, performers in flying rigs were supported by very thin wires. While these wires tended to be invisible on film, they were prone to snap, making flying effects dangerous for the performers involved. It is now possible to use larger and safer wires in flying rigs because they can be completely erased digitally. PDI can draw on an abundance of past experience with digital subtraction.
A good example is the shot of Arnold driving his motorcycle into the drainage ditch in T2. For safety reasons, that stunt was done with the motorcycle suspended from a pair of cables running on some kind of a runner pulley above them. The camera could see, of course, this giant pulley and the wires, and okay, so it's not so dramatic when you see that he's gently lowered into the drainage ditch. We were then asked to use the computer to remove that aspect of the frame. The technique involves using the computer to basically predict what should be visible behind the wire and then put that over the top of the wire.
While the procedures sound simple, PDI spent several years developing and refining their wire removal process. On location in San Francisco, the crew of Heart and Souls is flying 4 stunt people high above the city streets.
So this shot has been called around here the hardest wire removal known to man.
Amy Slate, a senior animator at PDI, has been assigned to this scene.
It has lots of wires. They cover the entire shot. It's a long shot. There's a moving camera and moving people. There's sparks, there's flashes, there's smokes. The wires cross people. Every possible problem that you can imagine in this shot is in this shot.
Using PDI's proprietary software, Amy spends several days meticulously taking the wires out of the picture. But that's only the first step.
In this particular frame, the main area which it doesn't resolve is the place where the wires cross over. It's a very interesting detail, which is this person's face. So what I can do is I can grab a little bit of his face from before the wire crosses that section and paste it over the next frame. And here's what that looks like. The one area that still bothers me is Harrison's face. What I've started doing is I'm painting Harrison by hand for the section that's really bad, which is where he turns his head right there.
On his face.
Yeah.
Digital enhancement is taken one step further when the soul's flying turns to streaking.
What the animators did is they went and they outlined the various parts of the body. Off of each of these lines, the computer would render a shape which was kind of flowing back and gently kind of blowing behind each of the people that was flying.
Thanks to the magic of digital enhancement, in the finished shot, the wires are nowhere to be seen as the four spirits fly through San Francisco. When we return, we'll see how digital addition allows for previously impossible film improvisation. Technology is frequently utilized to add key elements to important scenes. For example, the baseballs PDI added in The Babe turned this actor into an ace pitcher.
With all the time in the world, we can make that ball go exactly from his hand to the catcher's glove.
In addition to baseballs, PDI added upper decks to present-day ballparks to transform them into historic parks that no longer exist, and even added crowds to the empty stands. In Heart and Souls, digital addition enabled the filmmakers to continually improvise during shooting.
Many times Jamie would have an idea about changing a camera position or changing an action to help sell the effect that much more.
An example of this improvisation is the scene in which Robert Downey Jr. is attacked with a fireplace poker. Watching the scene is Julia, the translucent soul played by Kira Sedgwick.
It was actually Jamie Dixon who came to me while we were doing this and suggested, how about if the fire poker goes through Julia, who's standing right next to Marco?
So the poker was set aside, and the scene shot without it. PDI will render the missing poker digitally, and then composite it with the live action picture.
So this is the sequence without anything that we've added. And then here's a sequence where I have started to add the 3D element of the poker.
Ken Bielenberg is one of several PDI animators working with Jamie Dixon on Heart and Souls.
This is the poker that was shot in the picture. So once I had this, I measured it and made sure I got the right dimensions, and then built that model on the computer.
Ken then goes through the shot frame by frame, following what would be the end point of the poker. He positions the digital poker to track the end point. The result is a computer-generated object that looks and moves like the real thing. Even more than digital addition and subtraction, PDI is best known for its innovation in the realm of digital manipulation.
A real good example of that actually is the David Byrne music video that we did called She's Mad. It's kind of related to the morphing technology where you distort one image into another as you transform from one to the next. And if you take that kind of to an extreme, you can really get some very fun things to happen to that live action picture.
Digital manipulation will be used to create Heart and Soul's most dramatic effect, a soul transfer.
A soul transfer refers to a soul entering the character Thomas's body, which they can do, and then he becomes somewhat like them.
The two characters are shot separately, but in the same setting. PDI then digitally separates the soul character from the background and uses this element to create the illusion of that person disappearing into Robert Downey Jr.
One of the layers is actually a morph, So this is about halfway through the process, and this is actually a morph of Julia to Thomas.
Animator Barbara Meyer is mixing multiple layers to create a soul transfer. The different layers are animated separately so that they fade in, stay for a while, and then fade out. This gives the effect a feeling of flow and motion, so that Julia appears to have momentum going into Thomas.
Very quiet, please, for the rehearsal.
When one of the souls leaves Downey's body, the result is a soul separation. This effect caps off a key scene where Harrison, Charles Grodin's character, finally overcomes his fear of singing in front of a large audience. The setting is a B.B. King concert.
From this point on, the singer's really into it. Now he's like really conducting it.
After singing the national anthem in the person of Robert Downey Jr., Harrison takes a bow and then steps out of Downey's body.
I'd like to be a little more sharp
On the rise.
We basically had both of the actors go through the same motion each time, giving them counts, bow, 1, 2, 3, stand, that type of a thing, to work out the pacing so that it would feel like it was happening at the same time.
The typical problem with shooting an effect shot like this is that it's hard to see exactly how the two shots will go together.
So what we're doing is just quickly putting the pieces together, and the end result is a little version of the final shot. And within a couple of days of having shot this material now, I can go back to the director and say, is this what you were thinking?
When we return, we'll see how digital addition, subtraction, and manipulation combine to create a spectacular international event.